Welcome back and good morning. And this is CIO Talk Radio. To learn more about the show, please visit www.ciotalkradio.com. And as always, we invite you to join the discussion on Twitter, hashtag CTR Live, and look for this show as hashtag mobility. Today's topic is smarter government through big data. And our guests for today's show are Cavan Capps, who is the Chief Data Web Systems with the US Census Bureau. Morning, Cavan. How are you?
Doing fine.
How is life treating you, sir?
Oh, busy. Big data's taken off. It gives us a lot to do here.
All right. So you are at the top enjoying this new journey, right?
Well,
The hype.
climbing.
Climbing. Okay. Great. And we also have Ellis Burgoyne, who is the CIO and Executive VP of the US Postal Service. And he's also a member of the CIO Executive Council. Welcome to this show. So Ellis, how is life treating you?
Going well, Sanjog. Very well.
Very good. So any new, different, fun, exciting going on in your life and work?
Well, work dictates a lot of what's going on for me. And there's a lot of excitement going on in the Postal Service, as I'm sure a lot of people can read about,
Yes.
following in the media. So
Definitely.
keep us busy from a technology perspective.
Great. Now, as we already know that big data is in vogue, and Kevin, as you mentioned, and this is actually with all industries, but we also know how much potential big data has for the government and government institutions. But this is also a huge topic because we want to look at what benefits it might have, what's been the reason it's been so slow in terms of adoption, and how government has challenges and business values that are unique in comparison to the private sector. So, Kevin, let's start with you as a first question. When we talk about big data and in government context, what is it specifically or overall that government is really hoping to get out of it?
Well, I think different organizations look at big data in different ways. It came out of the private sector, it came out of Google and Twitter and Facebook to basically do marketing. And I think government has a lot of functions. Some of it's enforcement functions, some of it's basically processing things like the postal office. The fiscal agencies have their own particular needs, and that is we produce information for policy and for business and individuals that people can use, and we have to do that while maintaining people's confidentiality and privacy. So it's almost like when you think of the statistical agencies, privacy is our prime directive. So we don't look at it in terms of the way that the commercial sector has. So we have unique problems.
So, Alice, when you look at this world of big data, and government, of course, has its own needs, but at the same time, this is not a mature technology. People are learning about it. And government, of course, is all about doing things in a predictable and a secure manner because there's a lot at stake. Do you think this is where people are basically holding back to not be the first adopters?
Well, I think there's a number of challenges that come with big data, especially for government agencies. For us, with the Postal Service, we're kind of in the commercial space as well as public policy space on the government side. And I think what holds back a lot of organizations is really just the scope of data and the amount of data that you have to process and store, primarily because it changes a lot about your IT infrastructure, changes not only hardware, but software. It also changes security requirement. It changes a lot about the business, and it changes our relationship with our customers as well. So I think the broad scope of what big data can do and the broad scope of the requirements for big data has a big impact, I think, on budget, both government and commercial, and also the solutions that need to be brought to the market to make big data successful.
No, this is interesting comment, Alice, you made. So, Kevin, if we are talking about this is too big of a bite to chew, why not convert or divide it in smaller chunks so that it doesn't have that one-time big impact on how government does things and how it approaches a given new paradigm or a technology? That would make it manageable, and perhaps you'll get started and maybe the speed of adoption may be faster. What do you think?
Well, and the fiscal agencies, again, our needs are a little different from some of the other agencies like law enforcement. They actually look for individuals. We try to make sure nobody can identify an individual company or person. So for us, we've always handled large amounts of data. We're looking at new data from new sources. because the European countries are often looking at data from the digital information and digital environment ecosystem. Right now, we've got to evaluate whether or not that new data sources, those electronic transactions, can give us good information more cheaply, give us more specific small area estimates, neighborhood estimates, for example, without breaking confidentiality. And so for us right now, the issue is not so much the technology, not what kind of hardware to use or what kind of software to use. That challenge will come later. Right now, we've got to find out, is there value here? How do we use it? How do we save money? Is it reliable in the long run? And will the public accept it?
So
Well, I
let's
think-
come, yeah, go ahead.
In our issues, our sides of the scope. And what we found to kind of manage, to your question about how do you manage this much data? How do you manage it within your environment? I think there are a number of technologies we're looking at in terms of platform solutions that help us scale horizontally to be able to manage this data. So as you invest in data, especially for us, and we start to see more and more potential down the road for data, that you have a system that you can scale as opposed to buying systems that may suit your data needs in the short term. And I think those are where some of the technology solutions are and where the opportunity is for us going forward.
So, Ellis, when we even talk about this, and you were actually talking about some technology platforms, and traditionally we all know that technology is actually the easiest part. It's the change. It's the places where you thought you would have data, it is not there, or maybe it's not clean, and where you did not think that the data will come from, it turns out it's more valuable. And all of that is more human and process centric. So do you think big data by design is no longer a technology issue, and people who will be successful will have a better handle on people and processes instead?
Well, actually, it's multifaceted. It's a number of issues. You've got, as data grows, especially in the government space, there's a greater emphasis on security and how you secure that data. And also, it's really about the stakeholders that help define how you use data, whether it's internally to market, a marketing group or an operations group, or externally, it's customers, it's either commercial customers or residential customers, and what their needs for data are, and trying to sort through what your external customers or internal customers' data needs are is a real challenge. And once you have that, the bigger challenge is around data management. You can provision data to your customer in the right way if it makes them satisfied and gives them the results they're looking for. However, you have to have a very good data management system that allows you to keep the data accurate so that it stays accurate and it's useful for the customer in the long term.
Even in your world, data, its volume, essentially the volume of data that you handle, has never been small.
Correct.
So big data may not be a big or a new element in your mix. Where do you see the rest of the world scrambling, and where you have aced this art?
Well, I think that what we're doing is we're looking at some of the horizontal scaling as well. The issue is right now we do the geography data that the rest of the world, the United States at least, lives off of. We've been doing that for years. So we're handling it now, but we see potentially new data sources coming on the horizon with large administrative data sets where we're actually trying to produce new estimates for things that we couldn't afford to do before. And also there are ways, some of these surveys cost a lot of money. They cost $25, $50 million to do. So if we can reduce our costs by using other transactional data sources, we will. But again, that all depends on policy. In the interim, we're studying these horizontal technologies like Hadoop and Spark and the other technologies for analytics coming out of R and perhaps the Apache group to allow us to do kind of recommendation systems and also systems associated with analytics that will help us reduce our survey processing costs. But this is all right now at the beginning, and we haven't committed to anything yet.
Ellis, don't you think in the past when we used to have more data and there were new sources that kind of show themselves and say, okay, use me, you'd say it's not worth it. But now it looks like with big data, anything that you look at, it looks like, oh, I could perhaps use this data and churn out some analytics out of it, which may be useful. So is it not like chasing a ghost?